I'm not even a big movie guy, but probably like Interstellar. It's a really good movie. I would say Atomic Habits by James Clear. I raced wing cars in California before I came out here. A lot of people don't know that. So yeah, I did a lot at home before I even got out here, where a lot of kids either live here or they move out here when they're really young and start their career. But yeah, I was 20 I think when I ran my first USAC race. So I always say my favorite race car driver is Sean Becker, which most people here probably don't know who he is, but he's a local California racer. Really good, great person, great family. It's always, since I was a little kid, the one I looked up to, and I get to race with them occasionally from time to time now these days. And yeah, he's just a good dude. I like Sean Becker. Lately, we've been watching Night Agent. Night Agent's really good. It's a Netflix show. I guess that probably counts in 2025. Yeah, my favorite sport is definitely golf. I'm bad at it, which is fine. I have fun, so it doesn't really matter. Easily a steak, like a ribeye, or yeah, usually a ribeye. So steak's my go-to for sure. Sometimes it's Oreos, sometimes it's steak and jerky or something, whatever I got. Sounds nerdy, but I was like into math, especially once you got into the higher maths, like where I kind of started playing into physics and stuff like that, using math for science reasons and things like that. So history was always interesting, but math was probably the one I enjoyed more, and felt like I could solve stuff and figure stuff out. So it's kind of fun to do that. I think that's what led me going into college and going to attempt college to be a mechanical engineer. Obviously didn't get very far. Yeah, I feel like, man, we just jammed around on our bikes and would go to somebody's house and play airsoft in their backyard or whatever. So I'm sure every era, every couple of years, there was a different favorite toy, but nothing sticks out to me really besides, like I said, we just cruise Sutter, the big town of Sutter, and just go ride to your friend's house and ask their parents if they were home if they wanted to ride their bikes, right? I feel like I'm like the last era of kids that did that, probably. I don't know. Maybe there's some in small towns still today, but yeah, that's what we did. I feel like on our summers and stuff like that, we just rode bikes, made jumps, whatever. People who stop at roundabouts, that's probably right there at the top. Especially, I live in an area where I'm looking at a roundabout right now, but I live in an area where there's so many roundabouts, and every once in a while you get a guy that will just come to a stop at it. It's like the reason why we have roundabouts, so you don't have to stop. So that's probably number one. A lot of it's driving related. People don't use their cruise control. That frustrates me. Yeah, I think we're on the road so much, so those what stick out in my head. People that don't use their cruise control on the highway. Yeah, that's right there. That wears me out. Travis Tritt and like Leonard Skinner and some mostly the 90s country and rock and things like that. So that's like still music. It's on my playlist, pops up in the car all the time. But yeah, more modern stuff is like I said, like Dylan Gossett, Wyatt Flores, Sam Barber, those types of artists are becoming really popular right now, and I like their music. In Wheatland, California, there's an amphitheater there. I want to say it was Jason Aldean. I was fairly young. I was like early high school, I think. I think that was my first one, and only for a long time. And I've been to a few. I went to a few out there, and then I've been to a few here. I actually saw Travis Tritt and Brooks and Dunn here a couple years ago, and that was really, really good. So that's probably my favorite one. But my one I used to always go to was Jack and Diane, John Mellencamp. Just really fun out here because John's from around here, and a lot of people really know his music out here. So yeah, John Mellencamp, anything by him is guaranteed to be pretty good karaoke. I mean, I think he's the best in the world. I'd say Kyle Larson. I'm sure that's probably the answer for everybody or near everybody. But yeah, unfortunately, I've only beat him a few times, but I always think I can beat him when I go race him, and he always somehow proves me wrong. Most of the local California guys, when Gold Cup would come to town, the Outlaws would show up, and that was cool. I always liked Jack for obvious reasons. As a kid, he's exciting. So yeah, Jack was my national guy, and then Sean Becker was my favorite local. I feel like everywhere we go is unique, but definitely anywhere overseas. I've been to New Zealand a bunch. Love it there. Been to Perth, Australia. That's a really cool place. Went to Italy last year. That's probably the most interesting, just because everything's so old. You go to like Perth and you go to New Zealand, everything's newer than it is here, you know. So yeah, you get to see. I luckily get to see a lot of the world, and I'd say Italy and just probably Europe in general would be the most interesting place, and a place I would like to go back and spend some more time at. Yeah, I mean, cell phone makes life easier, so I would be I wouldn't be able to drive anywhere. I feel like since I started driving, I had a phone, you know, so I never really had to drive without it. So I punch in where I'm going everywhere, even if I know where I'm going. Another pet peeve, if I don't punch it in and I run into traffic, oh, that wears me out. Then I feel like an idiot because I have the device that can tell me not to hit traffic or crash or something. It's like, could have rerouted me. So I route myself everywhere, even if I'm like, unless I'm going like around the block, I could be going to the grocery store and I usually type it in. So yeah, that's why I can't live without my phone. There you go. So yeah, like I said, I graduated high school, was racing some 360s in California, went to college for a semester and a half, and then I found out I needed heart surgery. Just had a lot of stuff going on medically, so I stopped going to college then, got my heart surgery, went back to college for another semester, and then that's when I kind of was in the works of racing midgets. And I kind of went back and forth. I started racing that summer of 2017, and that's when I like finally, you know, realized like, okay, I can actually make some money. But I wasn't getting paid. I raced that first year for free, not making any money. But so I'm still kind of like, this might not work out. I was still going to college for like half of that semester, and once we got racing a lot, you know. I ran like Illinois Midget Week and all that stuff, and I was like, this is too much. I've got to focus on racing. My mom was not happy about it, but I was like, I gotta, if I'm gonna race, this is it, right? So dropped out of college for real for the final time. Went racing in 2017. Wasn't getting paid, but won a few races. Talked to Keith and Pete that year. It was like a week later, Pete called me, said they must have been either really desperate or really interested. And they called me back like within a week of talking to them, and they're like, "Yep, we're gonna do this." So then I really started making that money that next year, 2018. That was my first time, I said, really making money, and I was, 20-ish years old, 21 years old. Anybody who's made it out here like without backing, it's, I don't want to say random, but it is almost random, right? Like there's kids that I race against at home, racing go-karts that are really good, and they just never got out here, you know, never got that opportunity. And mine was as random as anybody's because I just met a guy at the Chili Bowl who let me hot lap his car, and I got kicked out of the Chili Bowl and for whatever, all the reasons that happened. But I hate to say that it's random because it's not fully random, but it just takes like one good lucky break, and then you got to capitalize, and you got to be ready when you get it. And I would probably say don't rush. It would be my number one, because there's a lot of kids that think if you're not 16 racing midgets or, you know, sprint cars, that it's too late. But yeah, like I said, I was 20 when I started racing midgets. I didn't get into really racing sprint cars much for a few more years after that. So, you know, I was early to mid-20s before I really started racing sprint cars and kind of expanding. You know, I was pretty focused on the midgets for a while. So, yeah, I would say make sure you're good at what you're doing before you try to do something else. There's a lot of kids that don't win a micro race and they think they need to go midget racing, and they don't win a midget race and they think they need to go sprint car racing, and I don't know. I mean, it depends on the path you want to take, but I would make sure you're good and winning races at the level you're in before you look outside of that box. So yeah, that'd be my advice.